Washington survives Texas. They're headed to the national championship game where they will take on Michigan. I think Washington should feel good about their chances in that game, Cart. We're going to save prediction stuff for later this week in a separate video. But bottom line is this. When Washington's been an underdog, they've been phenomenal this season and before this season under Kalen DeBoer with Michael Penix at quarterback. And no matter who they play, I don't care. It's Michigan. But like this could be Georgia, this could be Michigan, this could be an all-star team of every other team in the country put together. They have the best player on the field every time they step on the field. That's Michael Penix Jr. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's something to be said about this Washington team and kind of how they have been doubted up until this point. Like I think people were waiting for them to fall towards the end of the season. They ended up winning the Egg Bowl at the last second against Washington State. They come into that game, the Pac-12 championship, last one against Oregon, 9.5-point underdogs, win that game outright. Coming to this game against Texas, I think a lot of people expected Texas to win that. Well, actually, I wouldn't say that, but Texas was favored by 4 in this football game. Michael Penix comes out and has an all-timer performance. I think second in all-time passing yards in a college football game next to Joe Burrow, which, by the way, insane record. Joe Burrow threw for 493 yards in a college football playoff game. Explains how good he is. But yeah, there's something about this Washington team and just what they have in Penix. Penix just might be that like generational of a college football player, quarterback, and having that type of season where he just goes all the way and gets him over the hump. Like we just talk about this could end up being one of the most possible like legendary quarterback play runs for a college football quarterback if he ends up winning it all. I think it's still an amazing season that should be talked about in general. But if this ends with a national championship, that's like an all-timer season.
Yeah, it's like the Kemba Walker thing, but football, right?
Yeah.
Like I think I said in the preview, teams with a great quarterback beat great teams sometimes. That happens. Like it's basketball teams with a great point guard beat great teams sometimes. That happens. Michael Penix is an elite quarterback at the college level right now. I think he'll be good in the NFL whenever he gets there, depending on where he goes. Even like I think he's talented enough he could go anywhere and be a very good NFL quarterback. With all that said, I'm gonna do a thing. I'm warning everybody right now. If you haven't watched our videos, if you're new to this, we have a comedic tone to all this. So know that this is meant in jest. But I'm gonna do a thing. We sure he's good? Is he good or is he just old? He's
What?
24, Cart.
Yeah, he's good. We're talking about college.
But like we're doing this whole like no one can stop Michael Penix, so he's gonna run to a national championship. Where was that the last 4 seasons? Like he's 24, Cart. Like
Yeah, and this season he has been amazing.
okay, he's 24, right?
But he's also amazing. And don't I mean what I see what you're saying. Like, are we doing like the old wins in college sports thing? Like, because we could do
I
that.
I just it's like
I'm not gonna let us get off a recap where we just had to praise JJ McCarthy for a good game and then do the age and is he
no.
actually that good
I
thing
want
with
to make I
Penix?
want to make it abundantly clear. Michael Penix is the best player in the country. He's
Okay.
incredible. He will be the best player, like I said, no matter who you're playing. In the Michigan game, he could single-handedly win it for Washington. He's that good. He's also 24. Like he's older than multiple NFL quarterbacks right now. He's and if he doesn't get it done this year, like should he just come back and be 25 and see like it's just old. That's all I'm saying. It's like if Zach Edey keeps losing, if he keeps failing. How old is Zach Edey? 22? Can we get 2 more years of Zach Edey and see if then he's good enough to win a national championship? Like, kid's 24.
That's an
Like,
insane. I mean, just an insane angle. I hear you. Yes, he's old.
okay. I just like it. Why isn't he the number one pick?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a couple of reasons for that. I mean,
What are the reasons?
injuries for one, and injuries.
Okay. Was he ever like on track to be the number one pick before injuries?
No, but there was like always something there with him before he got hurt.
Okay.
Like he was a guy who was like on radars even like at Indiana just because like frame, arms, all the tools were there. He just got hurt and maybe he could have gone probably to the NFL last year. I'm not sure where he would have been picked, but I mean, you get a chance, probably NIL bag, run it back, possibly win a national. Like this is why you come back.
Oh, 100%. I mean, God forbid, if he gets another chance, get another NFL bag, come back, be 25, I think he's got to take it. Like at this point, I would like to see 6 more years of Michael Penix in college. It's fun to watch, it's unstoppable, and I think he will only get better with more age. So, man, I'm sorry. Like we just gotta ask. He's 24. He's 24. What do you want from
Oh,
me?
this isn't an NFL draft preview show. This is is he's playing in a college football game tomorrow or next Monday, whatever it is.
Yeah, yes, correct.
Yes.
Yes, the 24-year-old is playing in a college football game in Monday. Yes. Quinn Ewers, not 24, notably. 369 yards, a touchdown, no interception, 31 for 47. I thought he was pretty great, or at least very good, if not great. He was still very clearly the worst quarterback in this game, which is a little crazy. Like Penix had a pick, and I don't know. Ewers probably, I don't know how QBR works truly, but I would assume Ewers has a higher QBR based on where their stats ended up in this game. Do you think Ewers like held his own in this matchup at all? He had a chance to win it late. He made some big throws.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely made some big throws in this game. This came down to the fact that Texas kept turning the ball over, though.
Yeah.
Like they just had the fumbles they had were just, heartbreaking because in a game where they were actually running the ball pretty well, and I thought controlling the ball until they fumbled it or until they had maybe some breakdowns offensively. They had 3 and outs, but to me, in order to beat Washington, like you got to keep that defense on the field. Like Penix off field, great. We don't want that. So, I know we're not doing the preview thing, but if there was a team that's really good at running the ball, controlling the ball, might be good recipe to beat Washington. But, if you just keep on giving Michael Penix chances and chances and you give him the ball, it's going to be really tough to beat those guys because that wide receiver core is ridiculous. Can I get a statement that you said that Romeo Duze wouldn't be the best wide receiver on the field? Or I'm sorry, Romeo Duze wouldn't be the better receiver than Xavier Worthy?
I mean, Xavier Worthy had more catches, more yards in this game. Neither one had a touchdown.
Okay, I guess we could do that.
I thought both were fine. I think I think the difference is Texas had one Xavier Worthy. Washington has Rome Odunze, who's great. Jalen McMillan's a killer. I think Polk's really good. I think they just have the best and deepest wide receiver room in the country, even compared to like Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah, I saw a funny tweet that someone said that if Washington's wide receiver core was on the or no, if it's better than the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver room, like if Mardez Valdez-Scantling was on Washington, he'd be a special teams gunner.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that's accurate, man. Like seriously, these dudes are special. Look, I make jokes about Penix, but like they're the most fun team to watch in the sport. They've been that way all season. I think you and I have bet them all season long. I did bet Washington money line in this game. Ching, let's go. Kalen DeBoer is a superstar. I love his system. He molds this system to these players. He gets the right players in to succeed in this. Like it's one of the good case studies of like why college football is so fun because there's like 1,000 different ways you can build a team to win football games. And like the way he built this is just the most fun way to build a college football team from a viewing perspective. Like we're just going to throw the ball 58 times. We're going to take deep shots every 2 plays. And we have 1,000 receivers that can go up and get it. And we have a gunner at QB. And I don't know, like Texas couldn't solve it. I don't really think anybody in Pac-12 play solved it. Like obviously Washington looked great in the Oregon games. They had some close calls, though, man. They had some close calls against bad football teams. And that was one of my red flags in the Michigan-Alabama preview was like, are we really pretending Alabama hasn't been tied at the half with 6 teams with losing records this year? Because that was true. Like, that happened. And I think when you get into the Michigan-Alabama game, like 10 minutes in, you're like, oh, yeah, this is not normal Alabama. Like, maybe the warning signs all season should have been remembered coming into that one. I think Washington can absolutely win the national championship game. You could see it for sure. Penix might be unstoppable against Michigan's defense. It really could happen. They also were tied with Washington State and with Stanford and with Arizona State, all late in those 3 games, with the other team with the ball in the red zone. Like that's, huh? Like how? I'd like to go back and watch the film, because in the biggest games and the biggest moments this year, Michael Penix has been unstoppable and they're hanging 40 on good teams. But they're like half of Pac-12 play. That didn't happen against the bad teams in the Pac-12. So I don't know if that's just like Washington doesn't get up for little games. The national championship, notably not a little game. So I think they're going to get up for that one. But like, it's just kind of when you think forward of like, is this team actually unstoppable? Like in the back of my mind, it's just like, no, they're not unstoppable, because some really bad teams almost got them this year.
Yeah, well, they all. I would also argue that Washington's best win is better than Michigan's best win.
Oregon?
Yeah, Oregon twice, I would say, is a better win than what, Ohio State, Penn
Do you think
State.
Oregon's a better win than Texas at this point?
Hmm.
Do you think Oregon's a better win than Texas at this point?
Well, yeah, I mean, I get. Well, I was talking more like
Either
regular
way.
season, because like I didn't know we are gonna do like the Bama. Like if we're excluding the college football playoff wins, I would say that Washington has had the better win than Michigan.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you and I are ever going to agree on that. I think
You think Ohio State and Penn State are better than Oregon?
when we get to the 12-team playoff, you're going to see Ohio State have a lot more success than they've had the last 3 years. Like the Ohio State's issue the last 3 years has been they can't beat Jim Harbaugh Michigan teams. That's it.
Mm.
Like and I get they looked horrible against Missouri. It was a 1-score game with a third string quarterback with Marvin Harrison Jr. opted out. Like, and Missouri played their dogs and wanted that one. So I don't know. Like Georgia came down to a field goal the year before, and Georgia won the national title by 60. So like I think Ohio State is very much still a top. I think they have an argument for being a top 4 team in the sport this year. I really do. I think Georgia and Ohio State at full strength are both right there. They're better than Alabama and Texas, I can tell you that. Georgia's loss to Alabama ruined all of this,
Yeah.
because like if the semifinal results are so much easier to process if you accept that Alabama's just not that good, because Texas's win over Alabama is not nearly as impressive as we all made it out to be. Like, yeah, going into Tuscaloosa is impressive, but like, come on, like a 1-loss Alabama team that lost to Oklahoma just made the playoff over an undefeated team.
Yeah, if Brock Bowers and McConkey don't break their legs against Ole Miss, they're probably healthy and they probably win that football game.
Yeah, and then Florida State's the 4 seed, and then Georgia smokes Florida State without Travis, and then Michigan plays Washington in the semi, and then
Did
whoever
it?
wins that gets smoked by Georgia.
Didn't Jordan Travis like break or lose his leg against like Northern Alabama too?
Yeah, I think so. Not
Like,
great.
come on,
Not
that's
great.
just yeah, that's just some bad luck. But what I will say in this, and I know this isn't the preview thing, I just have all types of faith that this is just like a legendary Penix run. Like it was meant to be.
So you're all in. You think Washington's going to win that game? Spoiler alert for our preview, but like you're just all in. Washington's better football team than Michigan because they have Michael Penix.
No, I don't even know if that's what it is, because I think if they don't have Dylan Johnson, that's massive, massive negative hit. And by the looks of it, I mean, he was in extreme pain and had to be carted off after he got to the sideline. Like that doesn't look like a guy who's going to play on Monday. But I don't know why this feels like I should pick Michigan. Michigan's favored. Michigan can run the ball with Corum and control it. Keep Penix off the field. Michigan should win. But then I just come back to like, but it's Michael Penix, and he's he's I don't know, he's just Michael Penix.
And look, he's the most terrifying man you could see with the ball in his hands across from you. Yeah, our preview will be fun. I'll save some of my thoughts for that later this week. But I will just say this. I think there's a high likelihood that this game ends up a very close game, no matter what. I will say I don't think Washington can run away from Michigan, because I don't think Washington can run away from anybody. Like you saw it against Texas. Like they don't know how to run the clock out. They're not going to. So like there was some baffling decisions late in that game that kept the door open for Texas. And I think if you do that against Michigan, Like, no offense to Washington, but go back through their schedule, man. Have they won a game by 10 points in 2 months? It's the USC win. They won by 10 against USC, and Caleb Williams was crying. They beat Arizona by 7. They beat Oregon by 3. They beat Arizona State by 8. Stanford by
Arizona's good.
9.
Yeah, Arizona's good.
Arizona's good. Yeah. I'm going through the games other than beating Michigan State after their coach became a sexual deviant by 30. And every game's been close is all I'm saying. I don't think they can pull away because they don't know how to pull away. Like, they're high octane and that's it. If they're up 14 with 15 minutes left, they're going to be taking deep shots. And if those deep shots are incomplete, okay, door open for the other team. And I think Michigan's good enough. Like, if they need to come back, clearly you saw them come back against Alabama. So I think point is we're going to be in for a close game either way, unless Michigan can just pressure, which I need football minds to tell me if that's actually going to happen or not. Because
I mean, I on paper it should, but also I didn't think that Texas did that bad of like at least getting Penix a little bit off. Like it wasn't like sack 'em type pressure. It was a couple of, but Penix was able to get mobile a couple times in that game. He was able to sidestep, and then just because of his arm strength, he just flicks the ball out there, and it's hard to play defense for a really long time and cover those receivers for a good amount of time. So uh, it'll be interesting to see. Michigan, I think it goes like both ways. Like, if you want to play the Washington hasn't seen maybe a team that is going to be as physically dominant as Michigan is, I guess. I mean, I think Oregon's got some real good offensive linemen and offensive firepower. But I just think the Michigan run game, I don't think they've seen that yet. Also, on the flip side, I don't think Michigan has seen anything close to what Washington's offense is.
no, for sure. I mean, that's like the good quarterbacks on Michigan's schedule have been Jalen Milroe, who doesn't have a brain. Um, Kyle McCord, who, depending on who you ask, is either horrible or average, and Drew Aller, who I think is bad, and a lot of people tell me is great. So, yeah, I don't know. Honestly, Tua's brother, Tagovailoa, is probably the best quarterback they've played, and that game was very, very close. It was dicey late. So, yeah, the biggest thing, Penix obviously is the best player in the country, but like the scariest part of Penix for me for Michigan is Penix is like ultra aware. Like, I think as good as Penix's arm is, I think his greatest asset is his brain. Like, he sees things before they happen. He throws guys open. His accuracy is stellar. And I think even if Michigan is able to get pressure, I think Penix is smart enough to combat it by just getting the ball out. So we'll see. Will be a really, really fun matchup. We'll have the preview on that. I feel like we didn't do enough recap stuff of how this actual game went down. So just briefly, the end game stuff here. Washington is like running trick plays and throwing the ball instead of running the clock out, letting Texas hang around even after some of the fumbles. I thought Texas made a couple huge plays late to keep this a game. Then obviously you have the injury. Dylan Johnson goes down. Tragic is what I would call it. Like, Dylan Johnson is a critical part of this team because you have to have the threat of the run game in order to open up the pass game. Otherwise, they're just completely one-dimensional. And Dylan Johnson, like, for a team that you think doesn't run the ball, like, he had 1,100 yards this year, 16 touchdowns. Like, he's been great for them this season. If they don't have him going forward, that's massive. What'd you like? They were finally running the ball. Do you think that was just freak accident on that play? It seemed like freak accident.
Yeah, just freak accident and unfortunate because it had to stop the clock as well. Texas probably doesn't get the ball back if that's the case. But yeah, I think that honestly, this game was a lot more even than it looked. Or I mean, I guess it ended up being a 5-point game, but just in general, I thought it was a lot more even. It's just that I think Washington did a better job of taking care of the ball. Like, those fumbles just were they were massive. And one of them, the guy literally just dropped the football. Like, he's running, he picked up like a 27-yard gain, and all of a sudden everyone's acting like it was a fumble. I'm like, I didn't even see a fumble. They show the replay, he's just running, and all of a sudden the ball just pops out of his arm. Like, that's tough mistakes. Like I said, with turning over the football, and you just can't give Michael Penix the ball back. I really didn't think that Texas played that bad outside of the turnovers. I thought the defense had some timely stops to give the offense a chance. I also think Washington's defense actually made some more plays than people thought. I thought they got some good pass rush out of Trice. Guys like Muhammad on the corner, on the edge, made some plays at cornerback, as well as giving up some catches. But, that goes both ways playing cornerback. So I think it was a fairly even match game, but it came down to, one, Ewers and them had a chance to win the game and did not. Two, they didn't have Michael Penix, and three, they turned over the football.
Yeah, I think Washington's defense is way better than people give it credit for. I think they've set the tone. Like they started this game with a stop right away. And as little as that is, like it's a long football game. I think like starting a game with a stop when you're supposed to be an all offense team is a huge thing. I thought Quinn Ewers, honestly, like I kind of threw him off and it took him a while to get into the game. I think I just love this Washington team as an underdog. And essentially, people have written them off every big game they've played. Like they haven't been a favorite against any of the big name schools on their schedule. USC, Oregon, Oregon again. This game, this team's that good. Like I think this team is absolutely a top 3 team in the country, and I think Michigan's a top 3 team in the country, and I think Georgia's a top 3 team in the country, and they lost to Alabama, so they didn't get a shot. But like to me, this is going to be the most fun matchup because it would have been Michigan Washington had Georgia not lost to Alabama. We were going to see this game regardless. Now we get to see it in a chance where the only 2 undefeated teams left, one of them is going to be left standing. It's going to be really exciting. Ewers on the final drive, I thought he had some hero plays. Like until you get to the 10-yard line, he had 2 huge NFL clutch throws. What happened when they got to the 10-yard line, though? Why? Like, I was watching that live being like, Texas is going to score here. This is over.
Yeah, I think just honestly, maybe just a little bit too close. Just like they really constricted the space. I thought they were doing a good job of spacing it out and getting an open space. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I thought the last throw could have been better. It was really good defense by Washington. I think that he could have gave Mitchell a better chance, especially we saw Mitchell's earlier catch on that fade, which was incredible, by the way, how he hung in there and caught that football. But I was fully convinced that Texas was going to score once they got down there. And I guess credit to, like you said, we got to give Washington's defense a little bit more credit. It was a little bit bend but don't break mentality there at the end, and they made the play, and Texas didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Final thing I want on Washington going forward. We're essentially doing the preview in this video, so sorry. We're gonna have to do another one later. But so my fear for them without Johnson,
Mhm.
right, is they're going to just be entirely one-dimensional. And I think they're already, I don't want to say one-dimensional, but like they want to be one-dimensional. Like they want to just throw the ball for 500 yards and not have to do anything else. If you take Johnson away, like, I mean, add up the rushing yards for everybody else on this team, it's like 600 yards on the season. Like, and a lot of those yards come from receivers. I, I don't see how they're not just throwing the ball 70 times against Michigan in a national championship game. Now, if it works, great. It might literally be Penix is unstoppable and there's nothing Michigan can do. But I kind of have this sense of like, if you're a one-dimensional football team trying to beat Michigan, you're actually going to need Michigan beat themselves. Because I think that's what just happened with Alabama. Like, I think the Alabama offense is extremely one-dimensional. Like, it either Milroe's legs work or they don't. And Alabama almost won the game because Michigan special teams almost beat themselves. So do you agree with me there? Like, do you think if Washington, one, do you think Washington actually is one dimensional without Dylan Johnson? And two, do you think a one dimensional football team can beat a team like Michigan, who I think is the most complete team in the country?
So I do think without Johnson, it does make them somewhat one-dimensional. I don't know if I have. I mean, who knows? Maybe you get a backup running back performance that we just didn't see because Dylan Johnson is that good. He's a workhorse type back. I think you look in the last 5 or 6 games, he's getting 20 plus rushes, 130 plus yards easy, and then like 2 touchdowns at least. Like they were really like using him as a bell cow back. Maybe without him, another back steps up, but I do think it's a massive hit not having him because he is a threat. With that said, if there is a quarterback or there is a team that could get away with throwing 70 times and it working, I think it would be this team. It would be Michael Penix. But I do think them not having a running game definitely, obviously, it's going to hurt them. But I think that their offense and Penix can overcome that. Yeah, I don't know. I also think that you got to really take into factor that it goes both ways. Like Washington not seeing a defense or complete team like Michigan up until this point is going to affect them. Guarding this Washington offense sounds like hell. Like it sounds like there's chances you're gonna be on the field for a long time. There's chances that plays are gonna get extended and those defensive backs are gonna be trying to cover really, really good guys for way too long. You go all out, you don't get the Penix, he makes you pay. That can take a toll on them. So it's gonna be like what side kind of comes out on to what style comes out on top in this game. I don't
Yeah.
know who it's gonna be, but it's gonna come down to that.
I think looking back after seeing the two sound, I think this is the most entertaining possible final we could have got. Like, I think a lot of people wanted Alabama, Texas for the rematch, but like, I think this is going to be the most entertaining final game because of the clash of styles, because of Michigan's elite defense versus the best player in college football. And then on the flip side, like, can Michigan just run right through the Washington defense? Like, possible. I would not bet on it because I think Washington's defense is a lot better than people give them credit for, but it might be a thing where like, okay, like this actually is a secondary that JJ can exploit a little bit. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, should be a really fun game. I'm very excited for it. Yeah, where I land on the one-dimensional thing is just like, I think the loss of Johnson's going to kill him. And I don't think it's 100% that he's out for the game, but I think like if Michigan has a week to prepare for this and Johnson is out, I mean, that essentially takes away 30% of what you would have prepared for. Like now, the only thing you need to prepare for is Penix at that point, barring a shocking somebody has a legacy game, which could happen. But I feel for Washington because that's just such a hit. It's not a full strength team at all if they don't have Johnson, and that's a huge bummer because I would have loved to see this game with both teams at full strength.
Yeah.
All right, big Husky this week. That's for you.
Well, it's always been referred to as Husky.
Here we are. Your life comes full circle. Pinnacle moment for you. All right, we will have a preview more in depth at some point later this week. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe on the Sleepers Media channel so you don't miss any of our game previews and recaps all year long. At this point, we used to be a college basketball show. Now we're doing college football. Who knows what's next? Maybe we'll do pickleball next week. Subscribe to the channel.